Hello and welcome to the Better Way to Buy IT podcast. On today's show, we have William Rubio, Chief Revenue Officer at CallTower. Man, do we have a great conversation around unified communications as a service, the Microsoft Office suite, Cisco environment, and the future of technology. Pay really close attention to a couple things. Number one, he talks explicitly around maximizing your Microsoft environment and how Microsoft and Cisco can work together in a collaborative way with CallTower. Also, we touch on untangling the mess that's created when you have mergers and divestitures in a company and you have mixed product suites, Google, Microsoft, Avaya, Cisco, and how CallTower can help you with your process there. Also, pay very close attention to our Beacon of Light conversation, which was great conversation around the importance of accountability in any technology partnership. All right, here we go. Okay, William Rubio from CallTower. How's it going?
Going pretty good, Tim. Thanks for having me on today. How's everything going with you guys?
You're welcome. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the industry. As you know, on this podcast, we'll cross a lot of different conversational points, from business to technology to just some basic life stuff. Our listeners sometimes get the most out of just us being real about what's going on in the world, and they pick up a tip or a trick that helps them better manage their business or their day-to-day life. Your career has really spanned a few different great companies. I'm sure you have some experiences from those you'll share. We'll also get into how CallTower is really making a difference in the technology space as well. So before I steal any of your thunder, why don't you tell us a little bit about CallTower, your role, and your unique niche as a company?
Sure, definitely. I would love to. And thanks again for having me on today. So a little bit about CallTower and myself. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for the company. Been there for a little bit over 6 years, and we are 100% channel dedicated and focus really on businesses anywhere from about 50 users to thousands. We pretty much have a pretty wide spectrum of organizations that we can help out. And for the past 17 years, CallTower has really been a pioneer in the UCaaS industry. You know, we are strategically positioned to develop, or to deliver, I should say, a full UCaaS offering with 3 core platforms. And that's really one of the big differentiators that we have. We could provide UCaaS solutions, whether it be with native Microsoft Skype and or Teams, also with Cisco, and then
Hey,
also with
William,
AT Cloud Voice.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna I'm gonna interrupt you for 2 seconds.
sure.
One of the things that I want to make sure we clarify on is just what UCaaS is. So some people don't understand the acronyms. So give me your definition of UCaaS and how it applies specifically to CallTower. I think that's an important note.
Sure, I would love to. So UCAS, and if you look it up and you Google it, right, as everybody Google's kind of a big definition for, or big dictionary for everybody. It's unified communications as a service. And when you're talking about unified communications, especially with Call Tower, it's really everything that we consider to be a touch point. For example, voice is pretty much one of the clear, easy ones to kind of put your arms around, right? So voice is part of communicating, whether it be externally or whether it be internally. Instant messaging or chat is another one. Conferencing, whether it be video, audio, or even web conferencing, so you could have participants join directly through the web. Integration with contact centers and CRM tools is part of it as well. So anything that really, and then your email is also part of it as well. Anything that really helps you communicate internally or externally, it falls under that unified communications bucket overall.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Sometimes I think that, especially out in the world, we have our world, this technology space, we're very clear on definitions, but depending on the technology provider, they define things differently. Someone who has a limited product stack, different maybe from Call Tower, where you have this very robust call stack, they might define UCaaS more as a voice product because that's what they're selling. So those touch points are really important: voice, chat, conferencing, web, email. You think about how you communicate all day, every day. That's the communication stack as it pertains to Call Tower.
100% agree. That's exactly right. You hit it on the head because everybody, different organizations, different competitors, we all have good products, right? All of our products have advantages. All of our products also have limitations. And for us, with these different platforms and our global footprint, is really just about providing that flexibility for our customers, making sure that we're not selling them a product, but selling them a solution that's going to work for their business.
Yeah, I want to dive into that a little bit more, but I cut you off at three core platforms. So I want to make sure that you touch those points and we don't forget that because I know that's an important part of where this conversation will go as we mature it.
No, sure, not a problem at all. So you're correct. With these three core platforms that we have in unified communications and our global footprint, we are also a gold partner with both Cisco and Microsoft. We could provide those solutions and that flexibility within those solutions to our customers in roughly about 70 different countries. So the nice thing about these platforms is we could sell them separately. We could integrate them together depending on what a customer's needs are. And then we could also layer on different items like contact center. We have three of those that we provide. And then different products like Office 365, SIP, SD-WAN to really provide a full turnkey solution for our customers. We've seen more and more every day that there's been really a resurgence in customers really looking for an organization that can provide a complete solution to them because we all know that IT organizations are getting smaller for the most part just because they're doing a lot more. They have to be more, provide more of a competitive niche to their internal business units. So they need organizations like us that can really provide more of that full turnkey solution overall.
Yeah, so you're out in the field talking to your channel partners, which just for the definition for those of you who are listening, if this is the first time you've listened to this podcast, and you're hearing channel partners for the first time. In our world, channel partners are both supplier partners like CallTower, who provide solutions to end users like you, and then also channel partners who are sales partners who help provide consultative solutions using the portfolio of solution providers that are in the space. When you're out in the field and you're talking to CIO, CTO, executive level folks, what's the confusion that's in the marketplace around these items, especially I think as it pertains to Cisco and Microsoft? Do they feel bottlenecked into Cisco or Microsoft where they can't bring until they discover a company like CallTower, uh, where they have to continue to deal with Cisco or Microsoft Direct or a traditional VAR or MSP, and then you're this beacon of light that helps them maybe demystify some of the available options?
Wow, I got to write that down, Tim. That beacon of light. I've never really used an analogy like that for us.
Well, look,
You know,
I've been in a lot of appointments, or you're on panels, and a lot of the places that we travel around the country, we're talking to business owners. We're not really even talking to sales, marketing, or technologists. We're talking to people who are doing things day to day, and I might open up a door and they say, "Wow, I didn't even know this existed." And just based on Telegration's success with Call Tower, I think that has to be something that you're experiencing. I'd like to dive into that a little bit if that's true. If it's not true, say, Tim, that's not true. But
no, it absolutely is true. One of the things we find is that Microsoft and Cisco, I mean, let's face it, they dominate the industry, right?
yes,
And that's not going to change. I mean, these are multi-billion-dollar organizations that are probably larger than most countries out there, as far as when you look at their gross product and their revenue overall. So the challenge with them is that they like to provide you what I like to call a box, and that box is sitting on a shelf, and you're going to buy that product where an organization like CallTower comes in and Telegration and the partners with Telegration is really being that, and I don't want to use the word trusted advisor, but really being more of that partner and not really a vendor that could help let them take advantage and use the tools that these organizations have to the fullest of the extent available out there. Right. What we always find is that when you buy a product, about 80% of the features are never used, not because you don't want to use it, but you just don't know that they exist out there. And that's when an organization like Call Tower could come in, provide that training, provide that consultative approach, make sure that we have the right design. Because again, the business owner is worried about making sure that they're bringing in money, keeping their customers, and making their customers happy. They really don't have a lot of time to sit there and say, okay, let's think strategically on how we could use Microsoft or Cisco or some of the other tools that we provide to make our business better. How is this going to make my business easier for me so that I could go out there and focus on bringing in more business and growing my organization and not worry about all this back end stuff. And that's really where the heavy lifting comes in with Call Tower to provide that to our clients.
Yeah, and we've seen that firsthand with our partners in the field where you've come in and helped them to take their clients on your journey, right? And you do a deep dive discovery. So a lot of clients they buy Cisco or Microsoft or any service really, almost like a utility. They don't feel like they can negotiate anything except for maybe the price. They don't really look at price versus cost. You know, price is what they pay monthly. Cost is the long-term cost of total cost of ownership. They don't get into the weeds too much because sometimes weeds create more work, right? Now they have this new feature, they have to train. I think you do an excellent job at walking people through this buyer's journey to identify strategic areas of opportunity, but then more importantly, that follow up post sale. So, take call tower out of it. What would the advice you would give to anybody who's buying technology? Is there three or four criteria that you would say, hey, when you're looking for a technology vendor as a chief technology officer or a business owner, it could be a small business owner, 25, 50 employees, and they don't do what we do every day. Is there some key pieces of advice that you would want them to look for in a supplier partner, whether it's call tower or somebody else?
Absolutely, there is. I mean, first and foremost, I think you have to look at the longevity of the vendor or the organization that you're starting to do business with. That definitely goes a long way in understanding that this is an organization that's going to be there tomorrow for me. So that's one part of it. I would say the other part of it is understanding what platforms that organization is bringing or the solutions that that organization is bringing to the table. I want to, as a business owner, to make sure that I have the flexibility that as technology changes, which we know that it changes rapidly in our industry, that whether it's a year or 2 years down the road, I'm not really boxed in or tied into one platform or one solution, and knowing that that vendor can give me the different options to grow my organization. We all know that in some cases we decided to go one way with a platform. A year down the road, it just seems like it's not working out for us and we have to change. And now all of a sudden, no, you're kind of boxed into a corner and you have to wait for another 2 or 3 years before you can even look at going ahead and going through a different solution. So giving you that flexibility is something that all vendors should be able to provide. And then the other part of it is embracing change. And we always say that we want to do that, but it's really hard. I mean, I could tell you countless different times that we're sitting across CIOs and CEOs and CFOs, and they just there's one way that they do business, and unless you really help them understand and lead them through that journey, that there's a better way to do things, they're always going to resort back to what they feel more comfortable with. And that's our challenge that we have as as a vendor and as a supplier to make sure that we could lead them down that path and get them there, because once they do, they're going to be your biggest advocate. But making sure that we have the right tools and that we have the right understanding of what they need to get them down that path.
Well, you made a point earlier to say the difference between being a vendor and a partner. And I was actually in a meeting with a Fortune 500 company one time where a high level person said, "You use the word partner, Tim. You won't be a partner. You'll be a vendor." And that spawned a whole bunch of conversation really around what you just said, which is a partner helps. You help to facilitate, you help to guide, you help provide strategy maps, you give them gear to test in their lab or licensing where they can have a sandbox to play in. You're doing meetings with the business users around the corporation, and then bringing ideas that have had some prove out back up to the C-suite. Is that the type of methodology you guys use as well, where you get entrenched, especially in more of a, you talked about 70 countries, something that's more global or enterprise? Do you get really actively involved in the business?
You have to, in order to be competitive in the industry. I think you have to provide that extra level of support and really help those organizations understand how they're going to grow as the years go on, as the months go on, which is really always a big challenge. When you talk about being a vendor and then also being a partner, one of the hardest things for anybody, especially in sales, to do, right? I mean, we're all in sales at some point, is to say no. Right? And I know
Yeah.
that that's really hard to understand, but we've gone in with customers, some pretty large organizations that we work with, and say, you should not go down that route. We are not going to bring you down that route because it is going to be something that's going to It's going to fail, and then you're going to be frustrated with. And for the most part, if you do have that good relationship with that customer, they're going to respect you for that. Now, again, if they want to try some things in the sandbox and so forth, yes, absolutely provide that to them. But at the same time, you have to be able to stand your ground and say, this is what we do for a living. This is why we're telling you this is not the right way for you to go, and it's going to hurt your business in the long run. And 9 out of 10 times, they're going to respect you and they're going to follow your lead.
Yeah, for sure. I think good candor between the business internally and externally, and whoever the solution provider is really important. I think oftentimes people, and rightly so, they're worried about feelings, right? They don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But sometimes you drag the process on too long by being nice. It's okay to say no, and no can mean not today, not, it doesn't have to mean never, right? So a no to something Tim Basa is offering today might not be a no, not ever. So you have to explore that. It's okay to shut somebody down and move on. It's good for both parties, and then you can come back to it. And hopefully you've built up a good enough relationship, and they trust you as a good advisor to come back in later. You talked about flexibility, which I think is really important, and I want to tie two things you said together: flexibility, and then I think something you offer, and I want to get clarification around this, that highlights this flexibility is you said 3 unique solutions for contact center. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, so that flexibility really comes down to those different platforms, like I mentioned earlier. What we do on the contact center side is we white label all three of the contact center solutions that we bring to the table. So what that means is that it goes on the call tower invoice to the customer. We provide the 24 by 7 support to the client. We provide the design. We provide the engineering resources that are needed. We come outside and do the training. So even though it is a different package or contact center that we are providing, it is a call tower solution that we are providing. One of the ones we do is Five9. So we're a big partner with Five9. We've had a very good, successful relationship with them. In some cases, we will engage Five9 directly to come on site with us to a client. We'll sit there for a day or two, see exactly how an agent receives a call and so forth, and kind of work through that discovery with them. Another one is called Clarity Connect, which is a contact center solution provided by Proficient, which is a big Microsoft partner. So that is more specific only to the Microsoft brand of UCAS that we provide. And then the third one is an organization out of Canada called Telex, which basically came about with our Metaswitch solution, which we have rebranded as CallTower Cloud Voice, and it's now CallTower Cloud Contact Center that we provide to our customers. So all three sit within our stack of products. We do everything from beginning to end to the customer, and the customer really likes that because it gives them that flexibility. We've had in some cases some customers go with one solution for one office and one solution for another, just depending on what their needs are. So
Yeah,
being able to bring it to the table is substantially advantageous to us.
well, I wanted to bring it up for that exact point because I think it's unique to your solution at Call Tower, and you're offering this flexibility to a business that may need different solutions based on their internal structure, and you're tying it all together on your invoice, and you're a single accountable party, which is very important because the last thing I want as a business leader is finger pointing between my vendors. So you're helping to solve for some of that by being that accountable party, right?
Right. Well, yeah, the eliminating the finger point is a big advantage. The other part of it is working with an organization that understands your entire design. Not just that we're one piece of it, but that we understand there is a contact center. You are providing instant messaging. You are providing web chat. You do have different types of queues or campaigns for the different organizations and departments that you run within the company. So knowing that you're talking to some individuals that can see the broader scope of the service that we're delivering and not just being kind of myopic in your view and just one part of it really makes a big difference and helps from anything from troubleshooting and then again as well as just sitting down with that customer and saying, okay, we're here today. Where do you want to go tomorrow? And let's see if we could get there together by providing the right solutions to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, if you call center is very unique too because people typically think of call center and maybe you can help demystify this a little bit. People think of call center, if I just said that word, and they see 500 people or 1,000 people, a sea of people, of folks with headsets on, taking calls for Amazon.com or Sleep Number beds. But really, that's changed. I mean, a call center can be 25 people.
It's changed a lot. It's really evolved. I mean, nowadays, and I probably use myself as I guess a crash test dummy overall. I hardly call into any organizations, right? If I need to, let's say, look at making a reservation on an airline, or if I need to call my bank for something, I'm usually going through a web chat because I'm
Yeah, sure.
probably on a phone call and I could multitask and I could just be on a web chat on the back end and I could take care of something instead of waiting on hold for 10 minutes and then taking 20 minutes to get somebody to understand what I need done. So web chat is big. SMS texting we've seen is obviously very big, right? I mean, you go to turn in your car for service, you're getting text messages on when it's due for service, if the car is ready or not. So there's a lot of different ways that we are communicating right now, especially with millennials that don't want to communicate on the phone. A lot of people are not communicating anymore by picking up the phone and dialing. They want to be able to connect to somebody, but there's different means of accomplishing that.
Yeah, I think the key differentiation is contact versus call, right? People
Yes.
substitute the word call in for contact. Their brain autocorrects, like when you're typing a text, right? And they think, oh yeah, we don't have a call center, no, contact center. And think about the people who are doing the work within your organization. If you can add some intelligence around that, enhance their experience as a team member, but really level up your customer experience, your client engagement, what would that mean to your business? Really, you have to think about the areas of opportunity inside an organization to improve with all touch points all the time. And that's a different way of looking at the business, especially for people who have not made the transfer to a more digital world, right? They're still in an analog world. They're more concerned about price per minute versus upsell, cross sell, client engagement. Do you see a lot of that resistance to change to new technology? A lot of pushback. We like it the way it's not broke. We're not going to fix it.
I think it's changed substantially over the past few years. I think that organizations are realizing that they have to do it. There's no choice. I mean, when you're looking at a contact center solution and you have, let's say, as an example, a very good employee that's one of your top agents that could take a lot of calls and so forth, but maybe that individual has a limitation on travel or has a limitation as far as getting to the office and they need to, let's say, work remotely. Now, are you going to provide that flexibility or are you going to give up that valuable employee just because you want to have everything maybe in one office, as one example? So we're starting to see a lot more of organizations realize that, hey, we have to embrace this. This is the way that it's going. I need to make sure that I'm keeping up with technology. If not, technology is going to pass me by. And more importantly, my competitors are going to get my business just because I still want to do things the old way. Now, you do need still some personal touch, without a doubt, that you can't give up that portion of the advantage. But there's always ways to make sure that you're still accomplishing the same thing, just doing it in a much more efficient way.
For sure. Let's go back again to Cisco and Microsoft. We've had success just because of your relationship with those products and that stack. If I'm a listener to this podcast and I'm currently in a Cisco environment, maybe Cisco and Microsoft environment, walk me through just the high level what the value is for Call Tower related to those suites or those products.
Well, Well, with Cisco first, Cisco has made a lot of changes over the last several years, especially with their acquisition of BroadSoft. So they're still trying to figure it all out internally. And the last with them that we've heard is that they're still going to run what they call their Cisco HCS, which stands for Hosted Collaboration Services. That platform, which is a voice over IP platform, is going to continue to be their enterprise solution, and they consider anything to be enterprise once you get to 500 users or above. And then the other part of that is they're continuously saying that the BroadSoft portion of it is going to be usually for 500 users or less. So that's kind of the at least what Cisco is sending out as far as their messaging to their partner world. CallTower is very unique with Cisco because we currently are running call managers in our data centers, and we are now migrating over to HCS. They're pretty much both the same thing. It's just really a different label more than anything else, but it's the same feature set that we provide. But it is Cisco's official hosted voice over IP service when you're looking at HCS. So we are transitioning to that currently today. The nice thing about it, and the nice thing with CallTower, is that we're not limited in what we can provide, meaning we don't have to stick to a 500 user rule. We can provide it with customers that have 10 users, 20 users, 100 users, a couple of thousand. It doesn't really matter. And
Yeah,
with
that's a
Cisco,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I
No?
was going to say that's a great point. So if I'm a current Cisco, I have a current Cisco environment, and forget about size for now. Call Tower could partner with me to take over that Cisco environment, meet me where I am today, technology wise, but also work with me on my roadmap to enhance that environment. So you effectively become my Cisco partner. Is that right?
That's correct. And the key to that is that when that onboarding is complete, the employees, which that's what every organization's always worried about is how it's going to affect my employees. From an employee standpoint, there is no learning curve because the way that they were communicating today is exactly the way that they're going to communicate with Call Tower, moving from, let's say, a Cisco prem-based environment over to our Cisco solution. You pick up the phone, you're going to dial the same digits to get an external line, how it is that you communicate internally, how do you check your voicemail, how do you do a transfer, how do you do a call forwarding. Those type of things are not going to change to the end user because the back end system and platform that we run is Cisco compared to a lot of other competitors that say, sure, we could reuse those Cisco handsets on your desk, but now the way that you make these calls and the way you set up hunt groups and your auto attendants, all that really changes. With
Yeah,
us,
it all has to be
it's no more.
reprogrammed, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, that's time, money, loss of control, employee confusion, all these things happen, and you're really eliminating that learning curve, the confusion and hassle that goes with that a forklift change, in air quotes there, versus just a Cisco to Cisco environment. Now you're the responsible party, and then you're working to enhance that environment. What are some of the ways? We'll go to Microsoft in a minute, but what are some of the things that you see immediately, or even during the purchasing journey that folks get excited about when it comes to the new call tower relationship and how that's launched and how it evolves? What are the reasons that clients are choosing you for the Cisco relationship?
Well, first and foremost, with Cisco, Cisco's a very robust solution, but we all know that it's also an expensive one. So when you're looking at Cisco overall, the first thing that comes to mind is how many people do I have to have on staff that are actually certified within Cisco to actually go in and do programming and make changes to my system. Usually require 2 to 3 full-time people, depending on the size of your organization. So there's certifications, there's trainings to come with that. And when Call Tower comes in and can help you with this solution, what it does is it doesn't mean you're going to get rid of those individuals. It just means that those individuals could really focus on helping their business units, their internal customers, to grow the business. We're seeing a lot of IT organizations really transform from being a reactive organization within a company to being more proactive. How could you help our sales team process orders quickly? How could you help our account management team work with our accounts and grow? How could you help our billing department bill customers sooner so that we get their funds sooner? So different things like that. So with us, we become that we provide that heavy lifting to the customer. And then you're also different things like SmartNet, as an example. That's a big thing with Cisco. You have to
Yeah,
get the
sure.
SmartNet insurance in there. We take all that away. We eliminate all those headaches that you have to have on the back end because now let Call Tower worry about that. Those are the type of things that we bring to the table that a customer can say, great, now I could really focus on X and not have to worry about just sitting there and managing a phone system because I got somebody with Call Tower that does provide business continuity, that does provide redundancy, that's going to make sure I'm on the latest and greatest versions of the platform, and also make sure that they could add in different products to give me that full turnkey solution that either Cisco is not going to provide, or I would have to go out there and obtain myself, but now I have somebody in CallTower that could do that for me.
Is there a parallel on the Microsoft side to the Cisco side? Do you see similar characteristics with clients?
Actually, I see it more because with Microsoft, Microsoft does a great job in the industry of really being a disruptor in
Sure.
the industry, right? I mean, that's what they're known about. And interestingly enough, Microsoft, about 93% of their revenue comes from value-added resellers, as we call ourselves, VARs, like CallTower. That's really what it comes in. It's not the company going as an end user directly to Microsoft and signing up. It's really from their value-added resellers like CallTower. So we have a pretty big partnership with Microsoft because of that reason, because they realize how important we are to their success. Now, Microsoft, if everybody kind of remembers their history from a unified communication standpoint, they actually had something that was called OCS. It was Office Communicator Solutions or Services, which was really just more of an instant message type platform. And then it moved over to Microsoft Link, and then Microsoft bought Skype. Everybody was really excited about that. And then it changed to Skype. Then it changed to Skype for Business. And now we're seeing that Skype for Business is still around and still a pretty big play for Microsoft. But now they've also introduced Microsoft Teams to the industry. And they're really pushing Microsoft Teams to a lot of their existing customers and their VARs as this is kind of the next great thing. And Teams is really fascinating because it's a completely different platform, the way that it was created from the bottom up, that it kind of takes all the best that's out there. So when you're looking at conferencing and some of the good companies out there that do any type of conferencing, when you look at some of the collaboration services like Slack that are currently out there, and then taking the best of Skype, it's really putting all those three components together into one platform that's really revolutionary overall. And you're starting to see that all these other different competitors that are out there that are now coming out with their own UCAS offering, Microsoft has kind of upped the ante a little bit more. They're saying, hey, great, you can continue to do that. I'm going to do something completely different that's really just going to blow the socks off of any of our competitors. And they're really pushing that. Now, us as a organization that is a certified partner, gold partner with Microsoft, we have to kind of decipher through the weeds, as I like to say, as far as what's real, what's not, and making sure that customers understand the messaging from Microsoft and how those solutions could actually work for them today and tomorrow. And that's a big challenge that we have. It's a fun challenge, and we're taking it on, but it's really making sure that they understand how the Microsoft products could really help them.
So this is I'm going to make this conversation a little weird for a second. It's going to be
Okay.
about me, um, and Microsoft. So that Microsoft Office 365 suite. Are you guys experts in the suite?
We
Okay.
are, yes, we are a certified or what they call a cloud service provider
Okay.
with Microsoft, and we've been partners with them for about 11 years.
So what's interesting to me is I'm going to jump around a little bit, but when you're out talking in the industry, our industry, or just with business leaders, there's this issue with shadow IT. So you mentioned Slack. So they have Slack users, and they have people that are signing up for free software for project management, and they're they have all this hodgepodge of things. I see this even in our environment at Telegration, where we have people they're using Glip, they're using Microsoft Teams, they're using um, Asana for project management, different items. What's amazing to me is when you look in the Office 365, when you look in the suite of services, Microsoft has most of these options covered in the product suite, but people, just me included, we lack the knowledge to know what's available in our tool chest. How does Call Tower make clients aware of all the tools that are available? Is there some type of training or education that you're doing? And I'll let you answer the question, but I'll give you an example. I wanted help with scheduling. I see all these calendar helpers, right, where someone sends an email out and you click on it and you can see their calendar and you schedule yourself. Well, Microsoft has something like that built into the tool, and I was about to buy something, when I was already paying for it. So is there some type of awareness or training guidance that you're providing to your clients or guys like me who just aren't as educated as I maybe should be with my toolbox?
That's funny you mentioned that because Microsoft actually does a pretty good job of providing different tutorials, and they're usually anywhere from about as little as 2 minutes to about 15 minutes. I don't say that they go longer than that. Of all the different solutions or products that are within Microsoft Teams. I mean, they do it for a lot of their other products, but especially for Teams. There was one actually that I just saw yesterday. It's about 15 minutes long. That's on YouTube, and Tim, I'll send that over to you so you can take
Yeah.
a look at it
Hey,
because I think
don't
it's
make
pretty
fun of
important.
me. Don't, I'm supposed to be smart with all this stuff, man. Don't blow my cover.
No, 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 not at all. It's, you know what, even from my standpoint, I still search for those because there's a lot of things still, even within the Teams environment, that I still don't even know exist. And I know they're there. It's just understanding, like you mentioned, scheduling, right? There's an option for with Microsoft itself that's called Find Time, which is really great because once you want to set a time, and we've all seen this before, that hey, does these three times work? And then one person chimes in, and then the other one chimes in, and you're trying to shuffle through all these different emails. Well, with Find Time with Microsoft directly, it links with your calendar. It also links with everybody within your company that has the same calendar access, so yourself and any of your employees. It shows the available time. You could pick three or four different times. It sends it out to the 4 or 5 users that are not on your team, right? So maybe your customer and maybe your partner, and then they get to vote on which time works best for them. They can even say, this is my preferred time, and then you get the results back. And when you get the results back, if you have three or four different options, if everybody says yes to 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, then it automatically sends out the invite for 11 o'clock on Tuesday. And I just thought that's something so simple but so fascinating that I'm not sitting there deciphering through 20 emails as to whether or not 11 o'clock on Tuesday
It,
works. And
that it, it's a blessing, right? Find time. I think
it is.
there's an app called Bookings that I found that really is sort of built for a hair salon, but we think we can use it internally for our projects internally because it has some autoresponders built into it. It's pretty cool. Um, some of the workflow
Yeah,
tools. So we
it's amazing of all the things that are out there. And, even Microsoft itself, I mean, this is one of the statistics I always like to share with everybody that back in right around May of 2018, so actually about a year ago, Microsoft had about 200,000 organizations globally using Teams. And by September, so we're talking about 4 months later down the road, they were at 329,000. That's about an extra, that's almost double the amount of organizations. And Spiceworks in December of 18 came out with a statistic and said that by the end of 2020, so, T minus 18 months
so
from
what's
now.
Spiceworks for people who are listening? It's a great resource, but go ahead and tell them a little bit about it.
Sure, Spiceworks is just a research or a research organization that they just do a lot of industry analysis overall. So they go out there and they do a lot of market research. And one of the things they came out with is they said that 41% of organizations by the end of 2020 will be using Microsoft Teams. I mean, that's a huge number. And for all of our folks out there, that if you're not looking at what Microsoft is doing, you're probably doing a disservice to yourself and to your customers because whether you like it or not, we're going to have to work with them at some point. So I guess is my point on there. And it's something that everybody should really start understanding how to use these different tools. Tim, just like you said, right? It's a matter of getting in there and burying your head into it and understanding what are the different features that are available within the Microsoft
Yeah,
ecosystem.
for sure. So let's go back to some of the things that we've touched on because I want to start bringing some things together, and then also we're going to get into your personal life a little bit. So not don't worry, you don't have to expose any scandalous things or disparage this, refute any rumors about you. It'll be all good stuff. But if I'm a business, I have 100 employees, I have a current Cisco environment, maybe up to date, maybe a little bit behind. I'm an Office 365 user. I have a very robust technology roadmap. I maybe have a full-time staff or a limited staff. CallTower comes in and walk us through just the high-level overview of what you're going to do, what the lift is for me as the client. What do I have to do? what you're going to do. At the end of the day, we know you're going to send out you're going to become the single source of supply. You're going to be accountable party for both Microsoft and Cisco. But how does it look to me as the business leader? What's the impact on my team?
Well, first and foremost, in an organization like that, that's actually a little bit of an easier or compelling partnership or sell, if you want to call it, because they're already using some of the Microsoft product suites, right? So they're already using Office 365 as an example. So let's just say that they happen to have an Office 365 and they're using some type of Skype, they're using email, they're using their calendar. So just kind of the basic three or
Yeah,
four that most organizations are using out there. So when we come into a company like that, the first thing we look at is, okay, how are you communicating internally? How are you communicating externally? Sometimes you'll see a third party device, a handset that's sitting there, or maybe a headset that's really plugging into something that has no association whatsoever with the rest of their communications. So they're IMing internally, they're setting up meetings using a third party conferencing meeting. But meanwhile, they don't know that all these different applications exist within Microsoft. So when we come in, there's an education part of it that goes into it. That the first we say is, well, why aren't we doing voice within Skype for Business or within Teams? And sometimes they know what it is. Other times they kind of look at us a little cross-eyed. So we start explaining to them that this is just one of the services that we provide, and saying, why do you have a disparaged PBX out there that nobody can communicate with when you're able to bring that all into one same platform? And then the first thing they say is, okay, tell me some of the advantages. Well, one advantage is if you pick up the phone and you're on the phone, and then all of a sudden one of your teammates needs to reach you, and they see the status, they see that you're on the phone, or you might be away from your desk or on do not disturb, they're not going to reach out to you and try to chase you down, because they realize that, hey, Tim's on the phone. I'm not going to bother him right now. I'm going to email him, or I'm going to text him, as an example, later on, because I know right now I can't reach him. So I mean, it gets as basic as that. The other part of it is the conferencing part and the video part of it. Why are you going to have a third party conferencing solution when you can have it all within the same
sure.
system, that you could say immediately, hey, we need to jump on an ad hoc conference call. We're currently in Microsoft Teams. I got four of my guys available. You just send out the request, everybody answers, and you got four people on a party line. I'm kind of dating myself there when I say the old party
It's
line,
okay.
but
I
pretty
got you.
similar. Okay. So pretty similar to that,
We're
right?
going to
And then
get
all
into
of a
those
sudden
party line
everybody's
stories in a minute.
communicating, and sounds good. Sounds good. And we're
That's right.
collaborating. And then all of a sudden, you want to share a screen, you want to share your screen with me because you want to share a file. We have to then maybe do some research on maybe an existing file that's in SharePoint. You could have access to that within it. So everything sits within the same tools, that we don't have to be worrying about going into five different systems to accomplish something, when it could all sit within the
So
same
that's the
tool.
easy one because they're currently using those services, and you're just going to help bring it all together, right? Eliminate some of the third party things that exist in their stack, maybe augment some of the staffing that's needed, and let the company use those resources in other places to better serve their business. What are the more difficult ones? Maybe someone who's running it's an enterprise. They just went through a merger. They have Cisco and Avaya environments. They have G Suite and Microsoft environments. Can CallTower come in and bring that world into harmony under your platform?
Oh, that's music to my ears, Tim. So, yes, yeah, we can. And it really, the first thing is, obviously you need to sit down and you need to start talking with the customer. We just recently had an organization pretty much exactly the same that you mentioned. It was about 2,800 users, so definitely not a small organization, but a pretty decent size. They were running Avaya, they were running Cisco Call Manager, prem base. They also have some offices that were running Panasonic, NEC, some of the smaller ones, but the majority of their 2,800 users were either Avaya or Cisco. And then they just acquired an organization that was running Office 365, and they were looking at either going with voice-enabled Skype, or also going on voice with Microsoft Teams. So they were looking at that. When they came to Call Tower, and we were up against some of their, the large competitors out there that we all know who they are, and we won the business. And one of the reasons we won the business is exactly what you were talking about earlier, which is the flexibility. So we went in there, we didn't come in and say, you need to rip and replace everything. That's definitely the last thing that we wanted to tell the customer. What we did is we came in and we say, where's your biggest your biggest headaches right now? So they said, well, the first thing is we're running SIP to all these locations, and we have 3 or 4 different SIP providers. We want to get rid of that. Great. Well, we can provide you SIP everywhere. That's step one. Step two, we said, what's going on with your Cisco solution? Well, it's expensive. We don't want to go to the next version of Call Manager because it costs a lot of money. So we're looking at actually discontinuing the Call Manager. We said, great, we could take over that for you. We could reuse those Cisco phones, and we could still make sure that you're communicating to the Avaya and also communicating to the NEC and to the Panasonic, because now we're also assisting and supporting your SIP initiative that you have. That was phase one. So we did that. The other part of it then is Office 365. What are you guys doing there? Well, yeah, we have one company that we just bought. I think they were in Ohio, and we just acquired them. Small organization, but they're really pushing for us to make sure we go down Office 365. And eventually, we want to go with voice with Microsoft Teams. So we started porting over their numbers. We started taking over their Cisco. We started working with them on Microsoft Teams for that one office. And then we said, hey guys, here's the great thing. When you guys are ready to get rid of the Avaya, or when you guys are ready to get rid of Cisco, because you do want to go down the path with Microsoft Teams, you've already ported all your numbers to CallTower. We have that flexibility that you're on our platform, so there is no rip and replace anymore that's going to happen down the road. There's no learning curve. You guys are already using this. So being able to provide that flexibility and being able to make sure that we're going at the pace of the client is very important, instead of saying, hey, we're going to rip everything out, replace all your handsets, do all this new.
Yeah, I want to highlight
over.
those two things. Pacing is really important, right? You of course as a provider, a salesperson, I think I should make this point. A salesperson at just the average carrier, especially a direct salesperson, they're going to push really hard for their solution, and they're going to push to get things installed as fast as possible because compensation is driving that behavior. Look, I'm not putting those folks down. They're very good. A lot of them do great jobs. They sell at a high level. That's great. But it's really important to understand that CallTower, what William just said is CallTower is going to go at the pace of the client, what's best for them. And then that number control is really important. So now the numbers are ported to CallTower and you have some platform flexibility. Did I get that wrong, or is that the right thing?
No, that's exactly right. So you have some flexibility in the platforms, and we've seen it. We've seen some customers that come in, they go, let's say, to Skype, or they go to Cisco, and then they come back and say, hey, you know what? We need to do this, or we want to change this. It's a lot easier for them to change with Call Tower because we're saying, great, it's not working for you. We have an option to give you either CT Cloud Voice, which is our meta switch solution, or move you to Cisco, or move you to Microsoft, and we could do that within a couple of weeks, instead of having to start from scratch and port your numbers and go through that whole pain points again. We eliminate all those first 4 or 5 steps that usually have to take place.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into some rapid fire questions. Are you ready? They're
I'm
going to
ready.
they're going to
Let's
be
do it.
fast and furious. So first, is there a question that you hoped I would have asked you regarding Call Tower or some of the things that you're doing that I didn't ask?
You know what? You have actually done a really good job of asking those questions, so I can't really think of anything outside of. Well, I guess one thing. I mean, you had asked about how does Call Tower, I guess, go to market as far as educating our
Yeah.
customers and our partners. And our marketing team does a really great job of doing just general webinars, really focusing on our different products and solutions to really bring awareness of what's out there in the marketplace. And that's something that we pride ourselves in doing. I think we do them about every couple of weeks, and we got some pretty good participation out there. And we also have them on demand as well, so it's not something that you have to listen to live. You could also do it on your time. So just visit our website, really look at the different webinars that we have out there, and promote the different products, especially on new products like Microsoft Teams, which everyone's trying to kind of put their arms around as far as what it is. We do a really good job of really trying to
Yeah,
break that
you
down for our
you do a
clients.
great job with webinars. I think you have great deliverables on your website. So I encourage whether you're a Telegration sales partner or an end user looking at Call Tower, jump on the website, really explore it. Uh, I know we all belong to a lot of email lists, but join the email list. The content's really valuable. Even if you have a rule where you just put it in a box and review it later, there's great content. I think you'll think it's very valuable. First rapid fire question is what's bad advice that you see being given to uh, businesses out there when it comes to UCaaS or SD-WAN or any of this digital disruption that's going on? Is there bad advice you see being given?
Yeah, the one part I would say that's bad advice is when, especially when we've seen new partners that are going into the industry, maybe they've been, direct sales folks, or they're just starting out their business and they're now opening up their own corporation and they have 5 or 10 or 15, 20 users, etc. The one thing that we've seen of why some of these organizations don't succeed in the partner community is that they really try to be, jack of all trades and master of none. And what I mean by that basically is when you're going out there and you're going to sit with your customers because they're your customers and you're going to provide different solutions to them, don't try to understand everyone's products, including CallTower on that. I mean, we would love for you to always promote CallTower, but we understand that you should probably have 2 or 3 UCaaS providers, 2 or 3 SD-WAN providers, 2 or 3 network providers, and that's really where you should hang your hat. Because if you try to understand 10 different UCaaS providers, you're not going to stand any of them. You're not going to bring the right ones to the table. So really take the time to invest in your business and invest in your partner's business, your carriers like CallTower, to understand the right product set and then say, great, when a customer needs UCaaS, I know it's going to be CallTower, company X, and company Y. And those are the three I'm going to really focus on. And I think that that's always a much more successful business model than really trying to understand, 200
Yeah,
different
for sure. Well,
providers.
you just can't be a know-it-all, and that goes for clients as well. I'm in many meetings where the business owners, the business leadership, they're confused. They need to know that they don't need to be a know-it-all. If they are a coffee company, they need to know how to make the best coffee they can, and they need to bring experts in like CallTower or Telegration Advisors, some of our partners nationally, and they're the experts in digital services or cloud-based services, and trust that the solutions will be brought to the right solutions will be brought to the table by those advisors. Um, I, you and I have both been in this industry for a long time. You've crisscrossed the country on airplanes. Time is really precious. I'm sort of scratching my own itch here. How do you manage your time with all the competing priorities? You're on my podcast, you're jumping from conference call to conference call, you're on planes, you're in front of customers, you're helping partners. What's your time management secret?
Well, the whole thing with time management is there's never going to be enough time, right? But the most important thing is to really understand, what is it that you're bringing to the table? Meaning, what gets you up in the morning and what's your job responsibility? And the way I look at it, my job responsibility is to educate my partners and my customers and provide the right solutions for them. And that takes priority over everything else. When you're looking at the administrative bureaucracy that goes on in organizations. I mean, we all have it, whether we want to admit it or not, it does exist out there. But really staying focused on, is this going to better my company today or not? And sometimes you have to work on some of those things, but those things don't take a priority. And that's really a big time management part that I
As an
participate in.
executive, how do you cut down on some of that bureaucracy in your own organization, whether it's, email jail or reporting fatigue? Is there a way that you sort through what's really useful to your team, or is there advice you'd give to others who are in a similar role, or maybe a young person who just got their first management job and they're trying to figure out how to lead their team?
The hardest thing, and I think this even goes back to what we mentioned earlier about partners overall and working with customers, is there's nothing wrong with challenging some of those initiatives, right? And we've seen time and time again that you're right, reporting, right? Well, I need these 3 or 5 different reports. Okay, let's talk through each one of them. Let's see which ones are really beneficial. And if we see that all 3 of them are beneficial, by all means, we're going to go ahead and figure out a way how to do all 3. But you got to have a really compelling story that one report can take care of the same thing that 3 can. So it's understanding in a respectable manner, right? Understand to challenge the initiatives, whether it's your boss, right? We all have a boss at some point in time. So we always have to make sure to say, hey, let's really sit down and is this the most effective use of my time? And if it is, great, but let's work together to make sure that we're being efficient and it's really providing what it is that we're looking for instead of me just providing something to just check out about.
For sure. I'll tell you a funny story. Um, People listening to this can certainly do this. When I first got into sales, uh, and your sales manager wants reports, I had a sales manager that asked for all sorts of flavors of reporting. So I finally, in one of the Excel cells, I wrote, if you're reading this, send me an email and let me know what cell I wrote this in. And I didn't get a response. So I did that for multiple weeks in a row. And then I finally said, I challenged the report. I said, what's the need for this report? And he said, well, it helps me really understand your accounts and the profile of them. And I said, but you don't read it. And he said, yeah, I do. I read it every week. And I said, really, pull it up. And so he pulled it up, and it was maybe good or bad, right? But it was a way for me to challenge that, because it took me a lot of time. This is before having some of the tools we have today, like Salesforce.com and other sophisticated tools. It took several hours to put together my month-end report from all the whatever scribble pads and different things I had. Maybe shame on me for not being more organized, but my point is it really valuable to the business? Is it helping sort out some type of real actionable KPI, or is it just, like you said, a check the box report so I can say I got it? Or yeah, it's a way for Tim to prove he's working. And we ended up settling on, he just wanted 5 pieces of information from me every week in their raw form, and that was great. And it saved me a lot of time. It was very good. It ended up being just a quick email, and I could get on with my life of being a good salesperson, and later a good sales manager.
Oh, it's a huge difference. I've even seen the same thing with email, right? I mean, you all want to, everyone's eager to engage, and sometimes I just sit back and just let the email take its course, and then by the time you realize that, oh, maybe I should engage, the result
Well,
is
for sure. Sometimes you, especially as a leader, you have to let your team work it out, right? The other thing that we've done, I'd be interested if you've implemented any rules like this in your organization, is internally we appreciate each other. So we say that there's no need to reply thanks. We also agreed that a reply like got it or check or Roger, acknowledging receipt, we trust the email delivers. We don't think a dog's going to come and steal it out of the inbox. So we try to eliminate those little back and forth bantery emails and stick to things that are really important. Do you guys do anything similar?
we do. I'm not going to say we do it, I think, to that level, which would be great, and we probably should. So I'm going to take that back, really, to my team. Some folks don't. Some folks do it. The other thing though that we've instituted is when you're sending an email, you could take the politeness or the politically correct part of it out. Like, and what I mean by that is, I don't want to sound rude. It's just, hey team, hope all is going well. When you have a chance, escape all that. Just, hey
Yeah.
guys, I need this.
Yeah. So
And don't read more into it about, hey, we're all rushing, we all want to do something. Let's just get to the point, and it's okay. You don't have to say good morning to me 5 times, until 12 o'clock. I get it. It's understandable. Let's just get to what we have to, and let's deal
yeah,
with
we've
it.
taken a hybrid approach to that. So we start emails with hi or hello, no fluff, get to the point, and we end the email with gratitude. So we're not, we
Sure.
want it to, because there is sometimes it's too, you go too far the other way. It's too, the email's too sterile, right? And people wonder, oh, is William angry this morning? And really, you're fine. You're just trying to get your work done. So
That's
so
right.
we could talk forever, I think, about business tips. I'm a huge reader. I'm always looking for books to read. One of the favorite things that people like when I do panels or this podcast is I help build reading lists for people. So is there a book or books that you swear by, they've changed your life, your career, maybe a book that you give away a lot because you think it's packed full of great information?
There's actually two books that come to mind. And when I came into Call Tower back at the beginning of 2013, we decided, meaning Brett England, who's our CEO, and myself, that we were going to go down the management or the business practices of an organization, or a book called The
What was it
Advantage.
called? I'm sorry.
The Advantage,
Okay.
the Advantage. Yep, and it's the company is called the Table Group. The author is Patrick Lencioni, is his name. They're out of the Bay Area, out there in California. But that book, if you actually go into that book, it really talks about organizational health, which kind of seems like it's something you should be doing on a daily basis, right? But a lot of people don't really implement that or do it, and we've been practicing that for the past 6+ years. And it really just asks about 6 different questions. It asks about why do we exist, how do we behave, what do we do, how we're going to succeed, and then the fifth question is what is most important right now. And we've taken the approach that every quarter the executive team gets together. We also bring in our management team, and we wind up pretty much coming up with about 4 or 5 different objectives that we want to accomplish in the quarter. And then we come up with this what is most important right now, which could be a thematic goal. And then the entire company, every employee, all the way down to the receptionist, to the purchasing clerk, etc., comes up with 2 goals that are tied into these defining objectives that we have for the quarter. So the alignment is 100% there. We've done this already every quarter, so about 24 different quarters that we've done it. Our organization has grown by leaps and bounds. And then the sixth question is who does what, and this goes all the way down to who's ordering the soda in the break rooms in our different offices, just so that everybody is clear as to what the direction of the company is, who does what, and what is most important right now. And again, it sounds very simple. It seems like something that everybody should be doing, but a lot of organizations don't do it. And I always use the example of Palm Pilot. If everybody remembers back, Palm Pilot had the little pen stick that you would write your appointments and everything. Great technology, great company, management going in different directions, and they no longer exist. And they really had a great technology, a niche that was really out there. So we've implemented that. I would say anybody could pick up that book and you can really apply it not just to business, but to your personal life as well. Kind of answer those 6 questions, make sure that everybody is set up organizationally the right way and understands who does what and what's most
Yeah, I'm
important.
going to pick it up after this call. I've read some of Patrick's books. One of my favorites of his is Obsession, Five Obsessions of an Extraordinary Leader. In fact, I have several notes written on the whiteboard in my office just to remind me of things like clarity and culture and how important those things are. And I even wrote a book report. So I'm sure that is chock full of information. It sounds like a lot like the book. There's a book called Traction. It sounds very similar. I'll be interested to compare the two.
I haven't read it yet. I actually
Traction?
have it, but I haven't read that book yet.
Yeah,
So,
Traction. I
yep,
think you're going to
I
see that
did pick it up.
there's similarities between the two. And you said there was one other one?
The other one is actually another Patrick book. It's called The Five
Yeah,
Dysfunctions of a Team.
sure.
And that's another one that it's all about trust. It's all about positive conflict, right? You got to have conflict, and then you got to have commitment. So you got to have buy-in. Everybody wants to be heard, but when you come out of a room, you want to make sure that there's the buy-in and not that water cooler talk, right? That someone says, "Yeah, I'm going to commit to this in the room, but when I walk out of there, I'm still going to do my own thing." And then just driving results, and results really comes to team-based results or company results, I should say, instead of not my specific team. Because I could succeed, in sales and marketing as an example, but if we're not implementing our customers, we're failing as an organization. So it's really about taking more of that holistic approach to it's the organization succeeding and driving the right results instead of the
Yeah,
individuals.
it's interesting. We've worked really hard at Telegration to do some similar things and really focus on what's best for the business, not what's best for each individual. So ideas are important. Execution is worshipped, right? So how are we going to execute? What's the best idea for the company? Just because I'm the president of the company doesn't mean my idea is best. Somebody else might have a better idea. So to operate almost egoless, ego is good, but ego can also get in the way. So if we have a somewhat egoless society where the best idea wins, where we try experiments to vet out an idea. Don't just disagree with it. It's easy to say things won't work because most things don't work. But if you don't try some things, you'll never find out what works. So we run a lot of experiments to try to figure out what's the right thing to do. It sounds like your culture is very similar.
It is, and that's right. It's about trying to pull out and drive, engage with the different folks within the organization, and drive the best solution
Awesome. Well, William, that's our time. We're going to wrap things up. I really appreciate you jumping on the call for an hour. You shared a lot of tips and wisdom. We're having tremendous success at Telegration with CallTower. I encourage the listeners to reach out to Telegration to learn more, jump on the CallTower website, download some of the materials, attend their webinars. They're really fantastic. You'll get a lot from it. William won't like me saying this, but whether you choose CallTower or somebody else, that journey for you needs education, and CallTower is doing a great job fueling that. I think you'll find at the end of the day, they could be the best choice for your business or for your agency. So, William, with that, we're going to wrap up. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Well, that's a wrap. Special thanks to William Rubio from CallTower. Hey, if you're a busy business owner, you don't have time to wade through all the choices available in the marketplace for telephone, internet, and cloud services. That's where Telegration and Telegration advisors come into play. If you're not currently working with an advisor, reach out to us directly at telegration.com.